Right, what have I got here? Right, today we are looking at the Folomov, which, although it sounds like a type of vodka, it isn't. It's a flashlight company from China. Now, the Folomov company were kind enough to send me this for free, so bear that in mind. Although you do realise that when I do a review, I'm simply going to tell you my honest opinion. I've always done that, and I always will do that. And I think it's pretty easy to tell when people aren't doing that, especially when they're glossing over facts and not giving you a proper, thorough review. You know why I do that? I go out, I walk through fields, I test these things out. I don't just sit at a desk saying everything's fantastic like some of the channels do. But anyway, so Folomov EDC C4. EDC just standing for everyday carry. So I was quite interested to have a look at this, actually. Two reasons. Firstly, 99mm. Now, that isn't how much it's been raining today in Britain, which it does all the time, but 99mm is in reference to the fact that this is quite a short in length flashlight, which is quite an interesting feature for an 18650, because some people complain that they're too big for their pockets. I don't have that problem, but there you go. And the other thing is, it has a built-in power bank. Something I have never seen on a flashlight of this kind before, so quite interesting that you can charge your phone from it and things like that. So preppers may be interested in this because it gives you another option, and in order to do that, it uses a specialised cable. So interesting to see. So I'll open this up while I tell you about it. So the Folomov, and it's not a type of vodka, EDC C4, and it's an 18650 form factor with, now those are the larger batteries. In fact, you get one free, even better. So I'll put that to one side. Let's see what you get first. Well, here's the instruction manual. So you're going to get up to 1200 lumens. Now, I do notice that it is using, I think it is the Cree, in fact it was on the front, wasn't it? Yeah, Cree XPL LED. Cree, decent make. Now, I know off the top of my head, the XPL runs at a theoretical maximum of, I think it's 1150 lumens. So I don't know where they've got that figure from, but okay. Let's just say it's around that. Okay, fair enough. And, you know, they're not necessarily telling a lie there. So 1200 lumens, Folomov. Let's have a look at the instructions. So I'm going to memorize these. Doopy doopy doo. There's some functions. That's how you charge it. So very interesting that you can actually charge your flashlight and things like that. I was quite interested to see that. It's a feature I've never come across. And then obviously you have standard charging, which isn't an issue. And then there's your warranty details, and then there's a little bit in Chinese. Okay, so let's put that to one side with the box. What else do you get? Right, nice to see. I just did a review of an O-light yesterday, and I was a little bit annoyed that they didn't even give you a free O-ring. At least you get two with this, so top marks for that. So 2 free O-rings, and the O-rings go between 2 machined parts where you've got a thread, and what they do is they help realise a full closure of those 2 machined parts in order to prevent water ingress and things like that. So put that to one side. Nice to see that. You get a lanyard. Now, and I like to give these a good pull just to see what happens. So let's pull on that. Right, that's full. Nothing's happening. That's not coming off. So okay, it's fair enough. You've got a little spacer on there. To be honest, it's not as thick, but it's almost up to Hikelight standards, the lanyard. It's nice and soft. It's certainly not O-light standard. It's not as plush, but that's fine. And I presume on the bottom somewhere, yes, I can see it. On the bottom, you can thread this through, obviously, and then there's your lanyard. So nice to see that. It's a nice freebie, and they actually give you a free battery. Not a lot of manufacturers do that. And I know I was complaining about on the O-light that yes, they give you a free battery, but it's just an alkaline, whereas this is a 18650, and it's a rechargeable lithium ion, and it's protected by the looks of it. Yeah, it's a protected cell. Now, it's their own brand. Well, I say that. Obviously, they haven't manufactured this battery, but they've rewrapped it. So nice to see, although it's only at 2600 milliamp hours. I generally go for something like a Samsung 30Q, which is going to give you 3000 milliamp hours. And I notice you've got to be very careful. You see, some of these stated running times, they only stand true if you use a 3400 milliamp battery. So this is nowhere near that, so those figures are going to be lower using the intended battery that they give you, but that's not a problem. You can get an aftermarket one, no problem. So put that to one side, and I appreciate the fact that you get a free battery. It means you're not having to scrabble around. I've had this problem before, and it's worth discussing, where I've bought an 18650 for someone for a birthday present or whatever, and the next time you see them, how's the flashlight doing? I can't use it because I don't understand the battery. a lot of people who aren't flashaholics don't understand what an 18650 is, because they don't necessarily see this in the local store. So that's a little bit of a problem, whereas this one gets around that. So nice to see that. So let's see what the unit looks like. So pretty light. Design-wise, covering that up for a second, but design-wise, it kind of reminds me of an S2 baton by Olight, which I do have somewhere. There's one. There's the S2. What I like about the S2 is its slim form factor. It's very slim for what it does. Now, having said that, if you look, this Folomov is actually shorter. Look at that. In fact, if I put them, I'll line them up. It's not much, but look, the Olight is actually taller by a very small amount. So that's interesting. Even though it's shorter, it has built-in USB. Now, generally when a manufacturer wraps in USB charging, it increases size. Not always, but it generally does. Or in any event, it increases length. So it's interesting how they've got away with a shorter unit than the Olight. So that's very interesting. And they both use the same battery. And you're going to get a similar output from both. And this Olight's shorter than a lot. I mean, look, if you compare that to something like one of my favourites, the BLF special edition here of the A6. Look at the difference in length. Big difference there. Wow. Having said that, though, this has a tail clicker which takes up space. So if you were to remove that section, okay, it's not so much of a gain on it, but it is smaller, so it's much more handy on the pockets. And you get a clip here. Unfortunately, it's not deep carry. So by deep carry, what I mean is, obviously, this is a standard carry. So your pants pocket would go up to here, and this would protrude. So this section would protrude, whereas on something like the A6, it's deep carry. It bends and continues all the way to the top almost. So there's going to be a very small protrusion out of the pocket there. So I prefer a deep carry, but it's not the end of the world. On the M3 that I use a lot, that has a deep carry, and I really like that one. So back onto this one. So that's functional, yeah, it'll work, but it's certainly not deep carry, and it looks a little bit loose, is it? I'm not happy about that, but it certainly works. It's no worse than some of the other ones that I've seen on the MSRs anyway. So okay, that works. It serves its purpose just. No frills. I like to see the machine holes. I know there's some Claris models with this that gives you more options for attaching them, so nice to see that. Then I presume, is that the button? That must be the function button there, and then there's your USB charging port. Yeah, the only problem I have with these flappy ports is, you know, this isn't one of the worst ones I've seen. That's pretty solid once that's in there, but a lot of them, how can you have any sort of water protection level when you've got these daft flaps flapping around? You know, you sneeze and they fly out, but that's actually a pretty decent one. It's probably one of the better ones. That and the same as the Nightcore tube, they're pretty solid. So it's a smooth reflector. So if you can see the reflector there, it's smooth. So you have your LED in the middle and then your smooth reflector, as opposed to something like this, which has a orange peel reflector. So you see the difference in that metallic structure in there. It's bumped. Then obviously your other example of a way of producing light is the TIR. In fact, I'll go over that. I like to go over that just quickly. So this is a smooth reflector, so I'll explain what that means. So generally, there's your flashlight and your LED. We'll ignore all the electronics that go on inside. You want light to transmit into the world. So how are you going to do that? Well, you want to have a modicum of control over it. So one method to do that would be to use a smooth reflector, being used for many years. So what happens is you get a bit of flood from the LED, which is direct light from the LED, and then light bounces around and is reflected by this smooth reflector. So you get a spot. So what happens is when it hits a wall, you get, there's your spot, which is what's sometimes known as the hot spot, which is your directed light from the reflector, and then this is your superfluous light to the side, which is known as throw. So as an example, I just so happen to have the Hike light here. So there you go. So this has a smooth reflector. I'll turn that off so you can see. So smooth reflector, exactly the same, just a different size and a different depth, but we'll go into what that means anyway. So as you can see, this is your spill. This is your spill light, which is ideal for lots of different tasks. And then there's your spot. Now obviously up close it's useless, isn't it? It's a little bit of a disaster. So you have to either pull the flashlight way back in order to mitigate that, or change it to a different mode. So for example, you'd put it on a lower mode, or you reduce the power and things like that. So there are ways around that. There, so a lower mode gets rid of that, but it's still there and it's still annoying. So generally a smooth reflector isn't good for close-up work. And now this is a smooth reflector, so you're gonna get that, which is a little bit annoying, but it excels at throwing the light. So if you want to see something at a distance, you want a smooth reflector. If you're walking a dog and it, you know, flies across a field, you want a smooth reflector because you want to reach out and look at things. So if you wanted to mitigate the problems with a smooth reflector to a degree, what you could do is you could add a orange peel reflector. So as you can see, the orange peel reflector is no longer smooth. It has pits and aberrations and it's no longer perfect. It mimics an orange peel in that it's certainly not smooth. So instead of this sort of effect, get more of this. There's a transitional zone between the spot and the spill, for example. So as an example, where's that M3 that I was looking at? There's the M3. Now that has a orange peel reflector. So if we turn this on, you can see the spot, but if I turn it up a bit, right, so even if I pull back a very small amount, you can already see that this is no longer an absolute disaster up close, and there's more of a transition into the spill. So what this aims to do is, it says, okay, you still want a bit of throw, but you also don't want a disaster close up, but it's certainly not perfect close up. So what you could then consider is another way around all of this is to go for a TIR. TIR just stands for total internal reflection. Now instead of a reflector, you're using a solid piece of plastic. So there's your LED on your PCB there. So you would just cover it completely with your TIR lens there. So total internal reflection. So in other words, the light is internally reflected, as in it passes through the medium, not through a space. This isn't empty. This isn't an empty bowl. So no matter how many times it blasts through, there's very little loss of light in the transmission through the medium, and then it comes out. And then some, people like Olight use a curve here and a slight curve there to beam form to a degree and things like that. But most of them just use a beaded surface, for example. So what you're getting is a flat uniform spill. So for example, here is a TIR, and you can see it almost looks like a fly's eye. It has like this segmented, faceted look. So I'll put that on full, and as you can see, there is no spot. Right up close you could argue, yeah, there's a bit of a spot, but really there isn't there. So you're getting this fantastic spill, excellent for close-up work, not an issue when you're trying not to obscure details. I really highly rate TIRs for up-close work. But obviously, if you try to fire that across a field, disaster, useless. So that's why generally for an EDC I carry this. So it's between the two, isn't it? It's a compromise. So let's put that to one side for a moment and let's concentrate on the matter at hand here. So what are you actually getting here? Well, whilst I put this battery in, I'll tell you. So you get an 18650, which I like because you get a good capacity. It's using the Cree XPL, which, like I say, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head it uses the theoretical maximum, something like 1150. I'm pretty sure off memory. So I'm not sure how they get a quoted figure of 1200, but anyway, let's not argue about that. Okay, so let's go through some of the modes and how you change modes. Very simple. Now, it's not a tail clicker, which I prefer, but never mind. They're saving space because it's all about being compact and having an additional feature. That's what this unit's about. So now, if you notice, it won't turn on from a single press. I like that. Skill Hunt did exactly the same thing. There's nothing worse, and it's happened to me many times before, especially on a side clicker like Olight. Olight are guilty of it just as much as any other manufacturer. You put that in your pocket, it gets knocked and it turns on. And then, fantastic, let's go hiking. You do an 8-hour hike. You and the lads get to camp, right? At ease, everybody. Okay, right. Oh, I'll just get the flashlight out. Oh, the batteries ran out. And then you've got to scrounge around with all your mates trying to get batteries and things like that. Useless. So, there are two ways around that. The first is obviously with Olight. I mean, the way I've done is I can use the deep carry to cover the button so it doesn't happen. Now on this, there's two features. The first one, a single press does nothing. Like Skill Hunt, you have to hold it down. See, you have to hold it down. And that's nice. It's got an LED running light, so nice to see that. Okay, so turn that back off again. So great. Also, it has electronic lockout, which I love. I highly rate electronic lockout on flashlights. So to do it, it's 3 clicks. So 1, 2, 3, and then you get 3 flashes. What that means is, even a long press, you can double press, whatever, a long press is just going to flash and say, no, you're not getting in. So that's going to lock it out. So 1, 2, 3. That's it, locked out. It's not going to go on now. And then to unlock it, 3 more, and then you flash. That's it. Now you can go on. So I like that. So intelligently thought out. One thing I have noticed with this reflector is it's very shallow. Now I don't know whether that's to maximise on the fact that this is shorter than a lot of others. 99mm. That is good, but sometimes the problem with a short bowl is you get a funny, especially on a smooth reflector. I'll show you. So you see what you're getting. You're getting this tiny little spot here and then a massive spill. Now some people might argue, well, that's not necessarily an issue, because when you're walking along, you want a wide spill, so this is at your feet and that's reaching out to where you're looking. So that's fair enough. So we'll turn that off. Now let's go through some of the modes. Now bear in mind, these are quoted figures from this manufacturer based on a 3400 milliamp battery, not the one that they're giving you. Okay, just so you're aware of that. I want to make that perfectly clear. So let's go through the modes. So there, you're on there, and then single press goes through the different modes. So there you go, bang, bang. So there's your lowest mode. So 10 lumens, that's pretty good. The only problem is, you see the spill and the spot, that even at 10 lumens, that's probably too bright. There's a possibility there of that spot ruining night vision, and night vision is when you become accustomed to the night and bright lights ruin that, and it takes you about 10-15 minutes to get that night vision back. So unfortunately, with a smooth reflector, I would have probably gone for either increase this bowl size, or I would have said, look, take that to a maximum of 4 lumens. Any higher than sort of 3 and 4 lumens, you're wasting battery really, even though you're going to get an incredible runtime out of this. But the whole point of Moonlight is it's up close stuff, reading a map, not showing the enemy what you're doing or other people, or ruining their night vision. That's generally my assumed use for night modes like that. So 10 lumens anyway, you get 200 hours out of that. And then the next mode, in fact I'll go through them again. Bang, bang, there. So 10, so you get, hang on, let's do this again. There, 10, okay. So then you have middle, which is 75 lumens. You get about 20 hours out of that. Then you've got high, which is 200 lumens. That's a really good area for getting most stuff done, 6 hours. And then it goes bang, straight up to turbo. Now turbo is going to give you 1200 lumens. They are quoting, I would say you're probably going to get about 1000-ish, 1000 to 1100. Get 2 hours out of that, that's not bad, but again, that's only on the 3400 one that they tested with, not the one that they give you. But you can get around that by using an aftermarket, but that's pretty bright, and that's going to reach out pretty far. Now I'm going to turn that off because there are other modes, so you can double click to get to those. So you've got strobe, SOS and beacon, and then they obviously are going to pump out the maximum around 1000 lumens, but there's function to those modes. So for double click, I'll put that down because I know people get annoyed and put comments, I can't see and I'm epileptic and things like that. Okay, I don't want to annoy anybody, so we'll cover that with my fingers. So there is strobe. So, runtime, I would generally say just half whatever the turbo is. Sorry, double whatever the turbo is. So instead of 2 hours, you get 4. And that's starting to burn my hand there, but it's not too hot. Bear in mind that that's at maximum, that's not too hot. So next mode. So that one is SOS. So that's going to blink out the international distress sequence for SOS, which was 3 fast, 3 slow, 3 fast. We all know what that is. There you go. So the next one is beacon. Now it's quite interesting how it almost ramps this. If you watch, it ramps up and down, almost like a lighthouse, which phases past the eyes. It's very interesting. I like that. I quite like that, rather than just an annoying flash. I can imagine setting that up at a camp and using that for lads who are trying to get back to camp, for example, or a position to rally on. That's quite interesting. I quite like that. So we'll turn that off. There you go. So that's off. Right. So we've been over the main things. So I really like electronic lockout, USB charging, which I'll show you now. Now here is my trusty USB bank. Now, here's the thing that came in the box. So let's have a look. Now, it's a flat cable, which I like to see. They tend to last longer, although you could argue that braided ones last longer. Yeah, they do, but they're a bit stiff and unyielding. So let's see how this works. Okay, so to charge, I presume you just plug in this. Now, it's micro USB, so you could use any micro USB cable, but this is the one provided, which has added functionality because of this pass-through. So if I was to plug this in, let's see what happens. Let's see if it charges. Yes, it does. So you see it's flashing red there, and then it flashes, and then it goes green when it's full. So that's nice to see. Charging indicator, lovely to see. Right, now the special feature of this flashlight is its ability to put juice out rather than putting juice in. So let's test that. So I've got a Nightcore Tiny here, which probably needs a bit of a charge, and I'm going to use a genuine Nightcore Tiny micro USB cable here. So if I plug this in and pretend that I want to charge this, but this could be a mobile phone or anything. So let's get that plugged in. Right. Oh, I can't even manage to use a USB. That's how bad I am. Okay, so let's say we wanted to charge this. Theoretically, you should be able to use the battery in this as a power bank using this pass-through. So let's try that. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it works. There you go. Look, it's charging. So that's pretty impressive. So there's no trickery or wires going on here. You are using the cell in there to recharge another device. Any device that can go into USB can be charged. So I think that's a pretty damn good feature. I really like that. I mean, obviously you're going to have to use this cable. The only other way around it would be to have another port, a USB one. But I mean, look, it's massive. You're going to waste space, and this is going to increase in size. So I think that's pretty damn good. I've never seen that before in a flashlight. I've seen it on some chargers, but I'm pretty impressed. So let's talk about what I do like and what I don't like. So what I do like, electronic lockout, big fan of that. Long press to get to start, big fan of that. USB charging built in, and it hasn't increased the thickness or made it look ugly. Well done. Short height, brilliant, great for pockets. It's got all the modes you need. Pretty impressed with that. Power bank function, never seen that. Brilliant. You're getting a free battery. I'm finding really there's not a lot I can complain about, other than obviously I would prefer a deep carry, but you know, not everyone agrees with me on that. The reflector, I would probably prefer a deeper bowl so you don't get such a but again, that's just personal preference, because some would argue that I'm wrong, because by having the reflector like this, you're getting a wide angle spill, which is good for walking, and you've still got the throw. Okay, I understand that. Now, two things that I wasn't so happy about. 1 meter drop rating. A lot of the high sort of price flashlights, you're going to get a 2 meter drop rating or a 1.5, which I think's about right. I mean, 1 meter, you're pushing it if you're going to drop this. At least they're being honest, you know, they're saying, look, it's just a 1 meter drop rating, but I would think at this price range it should be at least a 1.5, but that's the only thing I can think to complain about. That and the weather rating. Now, if you notice, they don't mention the IPX rating, they just have a cloud, but if you look at the small print, it happens to be an IPX. I did find it at some point. Yeah, IPX 6. As you know, or if you watch this channel at all, you'll know I'm a big fan of IPX8. I like an IPX8. IPX8 means you can drop that in at up to 2 meters of water and you don't have to worry. Whereas you're not going to be able to do that with this. At least they're being honest though, because of these flaps, they're probably thinking, well, look, water can get in there and it's just one of those things. At least they're being honest. A lot of manufacturers will have these daft flaps. I'm not saying Nightcore do this, but this is just an example of the flap. They'll have a flap and they'll say IPX8, and I think, well, how the hell can that be IPX8 if it's got a flimsy flap on? And again, I'm not having to go at Nightcore here. I'm just giving you an example while showing you a flap. So at least they're being honest. If there was a way to up the IP rating and the drop rating, I would highly rate this, because it's giving you a lot of functionality, and maybe it's give a deep carry, but there's certainly nothing too much I can complain about. The only other thing I've just noticed there is, it's hard to see, but I'll zoom in for you if I can get it to focus there. If you see on the top portion of the LED, there's a bit of dirt there. That may just be quality control. I don't know. It certainly doesn't. It's that size and where that is, that's not going to affect the output, and you're not going to notice as an end user. But at this price range, I would prefer them to have a quality control look at that. But they're a new manufacturer, and this goes with new manufacturers. These things happen until things get sorted out. So I'll be honest, Folomov, well done. You've got short, plenty of features, lockout, a lot of things that I like. You're being honest with your figures there. Although I don't know about this 1200, it's near 1200, so fair enough, and it's a decent unit. I'll give you some beam shots, but I'm going to give this 7.5, and my reasoning is, if they went deep clip, change this reflector slightly, and change the drop and IPX ratings, I'll probably give it an 8, but I think 7.5 is perfectly acceptable. I just think at this price range they could have added a few more tweaks. But well done, Folomov. I certainly recommend, if anyone wants to buy this and have the added function of charging, I can highly recommend it. So well done, Folomov. Decent piece of work. So well done, and I'll give you some beam shots.